Hello and welcome to the Adam Dunlap Show. My name is Adam Dunlap. I hope you're doing well today. I have a special episode that I want to do to help people. The episode is called How I Beat Crohn's Disease. And to put it simply, I was diagnosed with Crohn's in 2004. I haven't taken medication in more than 9 years. Doctors said this was impossible. They said it can't be done. Look up Crohn's anywhere and it will tell you it can't be cured. This, quite frankly, is a lie. This is not true. This is a lie. Crohn's can be cured. And I'm going to tell you how today. And I hope that if you're listening and you have Crohn's, I hope you listen very carefully. And if you know someone with Crohn's, I hope you share this video with them. A sister diseases of Crohn's is colitis and IBS. So if you have colitis or IBS, or you know someone with either of those, please share this video with them as well. Now, I will say, before explaining my position and my belief and my experience, that I don't think what I did will work for everybody. But I also do not think that labeling Crohn's as uncurable is accurate. So we're kind of in this thing where I think my summary is that Crohn's may not be curable for everybody, but there are tens of thousands of people around the world that find cures for Crohn's, and it always lies in diet. So I'm going to explain my story for you today in the hopes that you take some inspiration or some hope, or are inspired to investigate more, in the hopes that you can be cured from Crohn's. Because as cool as it is to see, this happened a couple weeks ago, a video or a photo went viral. Some girl, a very pretty girl, with goodness, I should know this word. It's like one of those bags that hangs out of your body that collects like your urine. She had one of those bags, a colostrophy bag. I should know this stuff because I had Crohn's, and so this is like, I know people with these, but it's become such a distant part of my past that it's not even relevant anymore to me. That's how much Crohn's is gone from me. So anyway, she has this bag, she posts photos, and it goes viral like, oh, what courage. She's sharing photos, and she's not ashamed. Well, I'll say two things. Number one, I believe in that. Like, I believe in the courage she has. I'm proud of her. She's a beautiful girl, and she shouldn't be ashamed. The one critique I have is that lots of shares, well, the critique I have is maybe she didn't have to be that. Like, she can be proud of it, but it's quite possible, in my opinion, based on my experience, that she didn't have to be in that situation. So I am absolutely proud and thankful of where she is in her life, that she's found contentment. But at the same time, I say, man, what a tragedy that you're there. What a tragedy that you're there, because I don't even want to see you there. I don't want to see you have to say, look at my bag hangs outside of my body. I'd rather have you be healthy and vibrant about life. So that's what this episode's about. Let me jump into my story. I was a senior in high school. I was 17 and a half, almost to be exact. And I went to Mexico with my family. I came back from Mexico and I started having stomach pain, like cramping. Like I'd eat lunch at the lunch table in school and kind of like feel like a lot of pain in my stomach. And this persisted for about 6 months. After I turned 18, I went to the doctor for the first time in my life. For the first time in my life since I was born, I went to the doctor to look into a health issue. And they listened to me and said, okay, well, maybe you have some type of virus from Mexico. It kind of made sense since it started literally right after Mexico. So they gave me these steroids or these strong antibiotics. They gave me something, I don't remember what it was. I took it for 10 days and it went away. Like the pain was gone, which was great. A couple weeks later, the pain came back. And after that, the pain got worse and worse and worse. Now, some background information is that these symptoms, right, this pain, this cognitive pain in my stomach started when I was 17 and a half. But I had issues, looking back on it now, I had issues dating back to 8th grade. Problem with digestion, problems in my stools that I could see. I was skinny. I was skinny. Looking back on pictures of me in high school, and there's this one particular that comes to mind of me with my family and my shirts off. We're in the living room, and I look like I was in a prison camp or something. I said, Mom, didn't you realize how skinny I was? Couldn't you see there was a problem? Because looking back at me now, there's clearly a problem. I'm way too skinny. My body clearly wasn't digesting food and getting the nutrients from food. My mom said, oh, well, you were always a small kid, so we just kind of thought that's how you were. All right, I mean, she wins. She wins the argument. I wasn't in pain. But now looking back, it's like, you idiot, Adam, you had symptoms of Crohn's for years and years and years, and then finally it manifested into chronic pain. So jump back. Now I'm 18. I'm in college at Oregon State, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's gotten so bad that I'll walk to class some days, and I'm doubled over in pain. Like I just stop in the middle of the sidewalk and just like bend over and wait for the pain to subside and keep walking. I get to class and I can't even concentrate on what's happening. I remember specifically being in a finance class and not being able to concentrate. The only reprieve I had was when I played basketball. For some reason, if I was playing sports, like basketball, running up and down the court, when I was in the gym for 2 hours, I wouldn't have pain in my stomach. But other than that, I always had pain. Couldn't sleep at night, had to get up. Like I had to get up to go to the bathroom like 10 times a night, but I never really had to go to the bathroom. It was really weird, really weird. Just chronic, somebody kill me level pain. Awful, awful, awful. So finally, after seeing like multiple doctors, finally someone suggested, well, hey, maybe we should have a colonoscopy and check you out. I don't know why it took them 6 months to figure it out, but it took like 3 doctors before someone was like, oh, you know, that kind of sounds like Crohn's or colitis. This was back in 2004. And now it's 12 years later, Crohn's and colitis are very well known. Back then they weren't. Back then people didn't know what it was. There weren't Crohn's walks. People weren't raising money to find a cure. All these things. It was emerging, but it was still emerging. And there was a lot of people who had been suffering from it for, you know, decades, but it was still an emerging kind of part of whatever you want to call it, culture, or of the medical community or whatever. So I think that's why doctors didn't immediately zero in. Because now that I've gone through it and seen it personally, when I hear someone having like chronic pain when they eat and chronic digestive issues, the first thing I say is, well, you might have Crohn's. And half the time it is Crohn's or colitis or IBS. It's that simple. But I guess they didn't know back then, 2004. Anyway, they gave me a colonoscopy, and sure enough, Merry Christmas, Adam. You have Crohn's disease, December 23rd. They put me on medication. They put me on prednisone for starters, an awful drug, steroid. I've had friends on it who gained like 30 pounds. For me, I just got acne. I got like acne on my chest, but just not a good drug. I was thankful to finally wean off that. And they put me on Asacol. Asacol was the next drug they put me on. I had that for a couple years, and then when it seemed to stop working, they put me on Pentasa. Pentasa is a drug, I think it's the same drug as Asacol, but it dissolves at a different place in your digestive tract, so it attacks or responds or whatever, medicates differently. Luckily for me, to jump ahead in the story, I avoided ever having Remicade. I believe Remicade is an injection that they give you. They will inject you with medication like once a month, something called Remicade. They do injections for people. Other people, they'll have surgery and cut out parts of their digestive tract. Here's what happened. I took medication religiously. I never, ever missed a day. Ever, ever, ever. Not once. Because it was so painful for me before I got medication that when I got medication, I didn't fool around. At one point, I'm going to say about 6 months in, I got a huge fever, started passing out. Turns out I had an abscess, was rushed to the hospital. There was one point I was 19 years old, and I think I was taking like 21 pills a day. I had like 12 pills a day of, I'm going to say it was probably Asacol, and then these other things to respond to the abscess and that swelling, and awful, awful. 21 pills a day at 19. There's something wrong with you, right? You're dying. If you're taking 21 pills a day at 19, to be blunt with you, your body is dying. It's trying to survive, like it's on the brink. Well, I did what my doctors told me. Not once did the doctors ever give me food advice. Not once. I remember quite clearly my doctor saying, nice guy. Remember what he looks like and everything. He said, do any foods like seem to bother you, seem to like stir up any pain? And I said, nope, nothing. And he said, okay. I said, well, eat whatever you want. Just if anything gives you, if you notice a connection between eating particular foods and pain, then avoid those foods. I never noticed a connection. It just hurt all the time. So I just ate whatever I wanted, right? But here's the thing. Even though I took the medication the doctors told me to, even though I never missed the dose, even though I was a happy, positive kid as much as I could be with chronic pain and worked out as much as I could, I kept having flare-ups. I'd wake up and all of a sudden have so much pain I had to crawl to the bathroom, and then I'd have a friend drive me to the hospital. That happened once in college. Or it just happened again and again, like every 3 to 6 months I'd have some flare-up. And luckily, it seemed to always go down. Like I'd sit in the hospital for 12 hours, I'd finally fall asleep, I'd wake up, things were better. I'd slowly regain like flexibility in my abdomen so I could stand up, and then I'd go home and take it easy and be fine a couple of days later. But I kept having these flare-ups. So what happened? Well, almost 3 years exactly to the day that I was diagnosed. This was early December. I'm going to say it was probably December 12th. I had another flare-up. Recalling my memory now, I think I started fainting. I think I started passing out in my house. And then I would stand up and I'd pass out again. Like I think I passed out. I was like finally regained consciousness, went to the bathroom, passed out like in like the doorway of the bathroom. My mom finds me and she says, we got to go to the hospital. So I walk to the car. I get to the car and I pass out in the car. Then I get out of the car and they put me in like a wheelchair and I pass out in the wheelchair. Like I'm like losing consciousness. And she's totally petrified. And we don't know what's going on or why this is happening. They checked my heart, like they did a cardio, whatever they do to check your heart. I don't remember. I wasn't conscious for most of this. Anyway, I ended up spending 3 days in the hospital. It was my only ever like overnight hospital stay. And spent 3 days in the hospital dealing with what turned into be a massive flare-up. That's what it was. And I think I was super dehydrated, which was why some combination thereof caused me to just keep fainting. So I found stability in the hospital. During this whole time in the hospital, they would check on me. The surgeons would check on me because they thought they were going to operate on me and take out some of my intestines. But as always happened, I beat them off with a stick. Metaphorically, I got better and they didn't have to operate on me and they sent me home. But here's the thing that happened. I had this epiphany in the hospital. I'm laying there for 3 days. Had a couple visits from some good friends and some family. Watched some movies. I won bingo. I won the bingo game on the hospital televisions, but then I called in to claim my prize and the phone didn't work. So I didn't get my bingo prize. There were some highlights from a hospital stay, but for the most part it was miserable. And I had this epiphany. And the epiphany that hit me was, Adam, you've had Crohn's now for 3 years. You've never missed a dose of medication ever. This is not something that can be pinned on you. The doctors are doing what they claim is their best. They're giving you the best medication on the market. And you're still having flare-ups. Clear, and you just had the worst one ever. It's not like you had a really bad flare-up, day 45, and now they're getting less and less. They're getting worse. Nothing's getting better. You don't have the chronic pain, but you're still having consistent flare-ups. Nothing is curing. And of course, the nomenclature, what they tell you is Crohn's can't be cured. I'm looking at it right now. I typed in Crohn's disease on Google, and the first thing it says is fewer than 200,000 U.S. cases per year. That's rare, I guess, even though that's like 1 out of 1,500 people. Doesn't seem that rare to me. Can't be cured, but treatment may help. Blah, blah, blah. Can last for years or be lifelong. Okay, whatever. My doctor told me, best case scenario is you go into remission, but you have a shorter life expectancy now that you have Crohn's, and you'll probably have it the rest of your life. That's what I was told when I was diagnosed. So here I am in the hospital realizing, yep, your medicine is doing crap for me. Like, in theory, it's doing a little bit of good for me because I don't have the chronic, everyday, can't walk pain, but I'm still having these flare-ups. So I'm in bed thinking, do I want to keep living this way? Because there's no way around it. I'm going to keep having Crohn's. I'm going to keep taking medication, taking 12 pills a day, maybe going to new medication, flirting with surgery. It's only a matter of time before they operate on me. It's only a matter of time before a flare-up is so bad that medication can't repress it. Do I want to keep living this way? And I said no. There's something else that came to mind. It was the idea that, why is Crohn's new? How come at this point, 2007, more people have it by 2007, but how come, this would be my question, how come all of a sudden now there's 200,000 cases in the United States per year? How come that wasn't the case 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 40 years ago, or 50 years ago? And that was the epiphany. That was the other epiphany that hit me. Was first epiphany, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to keep getting the same results. I'm going to keep having flare-ups. They're going to potentially get worse. It's only a matter of time before one gets really bad and I have surgery or die or who knows what. Something bad's going to happen. Second epiphany is, how come Crohn's wasn't diagnosed until 1932? Right? If it was this prevalent, it would have been diagnosed a long freaking time before 1932. And if it was this freaking prevalent, then it wouldn't have taken until the 2010s for it to be known, for everyone to kind of know that it was around. How come in 2004 my doctors didn't even think of it? Because it wasn't as prevalent. It's simple. Well, how come it's become more prevalent? This is the thought logic that I had. Why has it become more prevalent? Have we mutated as a species? Because from 1950 to then, it had only been one generation, maybe two. Humans can't mutate that fast. We can't evolve that fast. We have the same digestive tract. I have the same digestive tract that my grandparents had. So how come I have Crohn's but they didn't? And the answer I came up with, believe it or not, was, the only thing that's really changed is diet, what people eat. And clearly we're eating foods with lots more sugars. Clearly we're eating foods that are processed. Clearly we've gone away from organic, healthy diets. And that was the epiphany, Crohn's has to be caused by diet. It has to be. That was my epiphany for me. It has to be caused by diet. Now, my sister and my brother, they didn't have Crohn's. And we had the same diet growing up because our parents fed us, right? What's the explanation for that? Well, to tangent, my explanation is that not everybody has the same digestive tract, right? Some people have stronger hearts than other people. Some people have better livers. Some people have better hearing or better eyesight, right? Some people have better digestive tracts. Or to put it a different way, some people have weaker digestive tracts. Some people have weaker hearts. Some people have worse vision. So somehow genetically, I was given the worser digestive tract. And so that made it so that when I ate the same foods, if they weren't awesome, right, my sister wouldn't be affected, but then my brother wouldn't be affected, but I was vastly affected. That's my explanation for that. They're still trying to find what causes Crohn's. They don't know. Maybe it's a virus, maybe it's this, and they spend hundreds of millions of dollars trying to cure this, trying to find out what's the cause, what's this, what's that. They're never going to freaking find it. I mean, knock on wood, I hope they find it. I really hope they do. But I'll bet you everything I have, they're never going to find it. It's like trying to find what causes sunburns. Well, I don't think it's a genetic thing. I think it's just you sit in the sun too much. And that is the truth for a lot of people with Crohn's. It's nothing that causes it. It's just you eat the wrong foods. All right? There's microflora in our digestive tract, like microorganisms, right? That are alive, active live cultures and bacteria in our digestive tract. When you eat certain foods, when you drink soda, when you eat sugar, when you flush that system with gross processed foods, it clears out the microflora, and all of a sudden the homeostasis of your digestive tract cannot be maintained, and then of course the digestive tract is going to break down. Of course, it's just logic. It doesn't take science to figure that one out. It doesn't take $100 million or tons of doctors. It just makes sense, does it not? If the microflora is imbalanced in your digestive tract, you're going to have a hard time digesting food. Yep, that makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. So I decided right then in the hospital that I was going to change my diet. And I read a book called The Maker's Diet. It's a book by a man named Jordan S. Rubin, who also suffered from Crohn's, changed his diet, and is completely off medication for like 2 decades now. For the record, I'm like 155. I'm 5'10", 155. When I was diagnosed with Crohn's, I was 5'10", 105 pounds, maybe 106, I don't remember exactly. I was nothing. I was nothing. Crazy. So, yeah, my body was on the brink. It absolutely was. So what did I decide to do? Got out of the hospital, and here's the thing. I told you that I'd never missed a day of medication leading up to that for 3 years. Since I was released from the hospital, since that day, something like December 15th, December 17th, something like that, 2007, I have never once completed a days of medication. Not once. And actually, but I did take medication almost every day until March 15th of that year, about 4 months, no, January, February, March, 3 months later. And I've never taken a dose of medication since, ever. That's why 9 years, 9 years and coming up on 4 months? What changed? How is that possible? And let me tell you this, before, don't do what I did. I just went cold turkey. I just said, I understand my body. I'm going to do this. And I was very in tune to my body. I became very in tune to my body. And but I said I was going to do this, and I did it. Didn't consult my doctor. Didn't tell him. Just stopped seeing him. I went for a checkup after a couple weeks after I got out of the hospital. I went for a checkup and talked to him. Never seen him since. Never went back. Nothing to say. Nothing to talk about. I got out of the hospital and 2 things happened. Number 1, I changed my diet. But even before I went on the Maker's Diet, which is a 40-day diet, I started taking nutraceuticals from a company called Purity Products. I took their organic greens and their like red berries, organic red berries. Great products. You mix them in water. They taste fabulous, super healthy. For a while, I had an endorsement with them. They paid me to endorse the company, but I'll endorse them. I don't have an agreement with them anymore, and I'll endorse them to the day I die because that was a product that I saw results from that really, really helped me. So check them out, purityproducts.com. Try it. If you like it, great. If not, no worries. I swear by it. Fantastic products that, again, helped me with my Crohn's. And I started, again, not taking my full dose of medication because I became disenchanted with it, right? After 3 years of flare-ups and being in the hospital for 3 days that last time with the vulturous surgeons circling me, waiting to operate. They look like greedy vultures, like, oh, we can operate, yeah. Get away from, I don't want you, get away from me. You know, I became very, very disenchanted with the whole medication, so I stopped taking it. I stopped taking the full day's dose, would skip days, only take half a dose. And then I went on the Maker's Diet, a 40-day diet. And one more thing, I said I was in tune with my body. It became a point where, like, I would do things subconsciously, like the way I would, like, rub my thumb. Like, I would put my thumb between my other 4 fingers and kind of, like, move it up and down. That became something that I realized I was doing before I even had pain, and then I would have a flare-up. Like, it was like subconscious movement. And I don't do that. Even today, I haven't done that in 8 years. But back when I would have, like, chronic pain, I would notice things about my body that would change, actions that I would do subconsciously. So I became very in tune to the way my body signaled certain things, even before I could feel it. And so with that, I became even more cognizant when I stopped taking medication about how I was feeling, what I was doing. And slowly but surely, I stopped taking medication. And then one day, I just stopped. Didn't consult my doctor. I just stopped. And I don't recommend people doing that because I think that a lot of people aren't going to know their bodies well enough. Or maybe I just got lucky and the timing was there. I doubt it. But the point is, I don't want you following what I did and then ending up with some giant flare-up and ending up in the hospital. But I'm just going to tell you, that's what I did. And I have not taken a dose of medication in 9 years. 9 years, 3.5 months? Not one. And I've never had a flare-up. Not one. This is the hope for you if you have Crohn's or colitis or IBS. You have hope that you can be cured because Crohn's can be cured. But it's not going to be cured with a pill. Just like a sunburn isn't cured by taking a pill. If you don't want to get sunburn, you stay out of the sun, right? If you don't want to get sunburn, put some sunscreen on and monitor your time in the sun. If you don't want to have Crohn's or you want to get off of Crohn's, monitor your diet. Eat healthy, sleep well. I think there's a lot of things that go into the homeostasis of our bodies. You're given genetically a predisposition towards certain things, weaknesses of the digestive tract, or like I said, a weaker heart or something. Everyone has something. And then that weakness is potentially exploited through bad diet, through stress in your life, through inconsistent sleep patterns, through bad thought processes. Thinking negatively will bring you down in life. It just will. Like, talk to anybody. Anybody who's older than like 14 will tell you, yep, I was stressed out and I got sick. Why is that? I mean, we don't need science to say, yep, we see a very strong correlation between stress and getting sick, right? So there's a lot of things. In addition to changing my diet, what would I do? I got essential oils and would use those, kind of rub them in my hands. I would think positive thoughts. I would pray every morning, which I kind of did anyway, but I even made it more so this positive affirmation of being cured and being healthy and thinking positively and faith, hope, these types of things. And all I can say is, if you want to say Crohn's can't be cured, that's fine, right? If you want to believe that, that's fine. And the problem is you're listening to somebody who's not a doctor, who didn't even take biology in high school. I took chemistry and physics, so I don't even know anything about that. And you're going to have a doctor that's paid $200,000 a year to say, take this medication. I know what's right for you, right? So you're pinned between Adam Dunlap, some random guy that had Crohn's, and this guy with a PhD. You got to decide who you're going to believe. My recommendation, objectively, listen to both people. Listen to what your doctor says, because he's very smart. But don't only listen to him. Listen to people like me that say, yeah, I've been in your shoes, because your doctor hasn't been in your shoes, right? He's just read a book that said, oh, this is what Crohn's is like. This is how we treat it. And the odds are that your doctor today didn't even study nutrition in college. It's only becoming recently a part of the education of doctors to study nutrition. It's only recently. That should be that's a mind F-U-C-K for the world. How come our doctors aren't studying nutrition? Our doctors should be, in my opinion, nutrition should be one of the core studies. Nutrition and diet is the preventative medicine of our world, right? But we live in the Western culture, which is a symptomatic approach. Oh, you have Crohn's, you have inflamed bowels or an inflamed GI tract. All right, take this medication. It'll stop the inflammation. Well, what's causing the inflammation, right? Another analogy, I said I use sunburns as an analogy for Crohn's. Like, people trying to cure sunburns. Well, just stay out of the sun. People trying to cure Crohn's. Well, change diet, right? That's like my simple analogy. Here's another analogy. It's woodpeckers, right? Woodpeckers are poking holes in the siding of your house. You know, the current Western medicine approach to that is, oh, we'll fill in the holes. You know the problem with that? You're going to keep filling in holes because there's going to keep being new ones. That's the problem. The real answer is to get rid of the woodpecker. If you want to stop having holes in your siding of your house, the real answer is get rid of the woodpecker who's making the holes. And if you want to stop having inflammation in your GI tract, the way to do that is to stop doing whatever is causing the inflammation. Not to treat the inflammation. Treat what's ever causing it. And if your diet's causing it or your stress is causing it, right, then you got to treat those first. That's the cause. You're going to treat the cause, you're going to treat the symptoms. You treat the symptoms, you'll always treat the symptoms the rest of your life. You treat the cause, then you're going to solve the problem. That's my episode today. It's pretty simple. How I beat Crohn's. Had Crohn's for 3 years. Had symptoms leading up to it for, goodness, since 8th grade. So that would be like 7 years before I was diagnosed. And now it's been 9 years since I've taken any medication or seen a doctor on it. Oh, a couple more things I got to add. People have triggers about Crohn's. This might be you. For me, I've found, since I've stopped taking medication, that dairy was a huge trigger. There was one time in France that I was really liked yogurt, so I started doing more yogurt, and I could start to see those subtle things my body was doing, like I said, like my thumb, like rubbing my thumb between my other fingers of my hand, things like that I noticed, and I was like, uh-oh. And I had to think about it, and then was like, it's got to be the dairy. And I stopped doing dairy, and I was fine. Other people have seemed to be really affected by grains, by wheat. Originally, I thought wheat was the problem, which was really heartbreaking because bread's my favorite food. But originally, based on the Maker's Diet, I was really convinced that breads were the cause. So I stopped eating breads. This is what I stopped doing. Well, now I eat breads all the time if I feel like it. It really for me, the cause seemed to be dairy. So you have to look for that in your life as well as what are the triggers. And I know some people that have Crohn's that just keep doing what the doctor tells them, and they keep eating awfully, having milkshakes, eating processed foods, fast food, pizza, all this stuff that we know is kind of the comfort foods that aren't the best foods. I say, well, that's your life. You do what you want, but I lack pity now for people that don't really take it upon themselves. But one more thing I'll say, and I'll wrap this up. It's very difficult to break out of the paradigm because I was there, and you're trusting in somebody who you know is an expert, who you believe is an expert, who you believe knows the most, who's giving you medication that's helping, and so you're relying on his expertise. But you can't do that. You can't make that your only resource, your doctor. You have to do your own research. You have to do your own information. You have to look into it. And if you really want to change your life, you have to be willing to make the sacrifices in your life that it might require. It might require you to stop eating your favorite foods, the foods that make you the happiest. And you have to decide, do I want to be healthy? Do I want to have chronic pain? Like, what's more important to me, that I eat my favorite foods and have chronic pain, or I stop eating those foods and I feel great every day? You have to make those decisions, and some people aren't willing to make those decisions, so they keep having it. That's fine. That's life. That's you. But if you listen to nothing else in this, just do your own research. Read the book The Maker's Diet by Jordan S. Rubin. There's another book I want to talk about really quick. I'm actually in it. I haven't read it yet, actually. I have to look it up. I'm on my email. Let me look it up what this book is called real quick. It is a book that tells stories. Oh, I feel so bad. There's like 2 pages about me in this book. The author called me up, basically wrote my story in this book. It's about Crohn's. Because see, now that Crohn's is big, now that we're having these Crohn's walks and hundreds of millions of dollars raised to find a cure, which is dumb in my opinion, unfortunately. Because of that, now you have all these other people like me that say things like, well, people are doing research and realizing there are thousands of people that don't need it. All right, I'm in a chapter called, okay, the book is by a guy named Eugene Heyden. E-U-G-E-N-E. Heyden, H-E-Y-D-E-N. And the book is called More to Consider in the Battle Against Crohn's. You can buy it on Amazon right now. I am in a chapter titled Diet for Success. And you should have my name in there as well, because he wanted me to sign a confidentiality thing that, like, he doesn't use people's names. And I said, no, please use my name. I want people to know so they can contact me if they have questions. I have a website called Crohn'S.com, Crohnies.com. It was a blog where I was kind of recording my experience with Crohn's. And the problem is it became such a backstory, such a history of my life, such a no longer relevant portion of my life that I just stopped writing. But the website's still up, Crohnies.com, Crohnies.com. You can check it out. Have some articles about my diet and things like that. I don't even remember what's on there, but maybe something of value. Probably not. What's more of value is to read these books. Read the book The Maker's Diet by Jordan S. Rubin, and read More to Consider in the Battle Against Crohn's by Eugene Heyden. Great books. I hope you do research. More than anything, I want to see you get better. I want to see you cured. They say it can't be cured, but I'm cured. Cells regenerate every 7 years. They say every 7 years you have a whole new body because every cell in your body is regenerated. Well, I haven't had Crohn's in 9 years, so who's to say I still have it, right? I don't have it. I don't. And there's many, 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 many thousands of people that have the same experience as me. I'm not saying, again, that everyone can be cured, but I know that many of us have. I won't be that arrogant to say, oh yeah, we can all get cured, because I have talked to people that have tried every diet and it didn't help them. But let that not discourage you. Because if there's a chance that you can be cured, will you take it? And I'm not asking you to go spend a ton of money or go see some witch doctor or try some crazy cure. I'm just saying, just read a couple books, change the food you eat, and see what happens. And if that has a 1 out of 1,000 chance of changing your life forever, there's 1 out of 1,000 chance of keeping you out of the hospital or making you not have one of those bags inside your body, will you take it? I took it, and I did. I ran with it, and here I am. I hope the same for you. Thank you for listening to my show today. If you have any questions about Crohn's or my experience with Crohn's, you can write me. My email is adam@adamdunlap.com. You can also go to adamdunlap.com and find links to my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, my YouTube. You're probably listening to this on YouTube or Apple Podcast. Thank you so much. Please subscribe. And if there's anything you want me to talk about in the future, I'm happy to talk about it on the show. So write me anytime, adam@adamdunlap.com. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm wishing you health and positiveness, and I'll say it again, health, healthy living. I've lived an unhealthy life. I lived a sick life for many years, and it was awful. And I will tell you, living a healthy, happy, vibrant, energy-filled, athletic, healthy diet life is so, so, so much better. That's what I encourage you to pursue. You can do it. I believe in you. Have an awesome day. We'll talk to you soon.